February 18, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NiftyTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. The only economic data, according to Forex Factory, that might move the market was around 11 o'clock Pacific Standard. It's about right here. This is where the FOMC meeting minutes for last month's meeting were released, but it didn't really move the market. Overall, the market looked like it was one leg up, pull back, another leg up. This kind of looked like a spike in a shallow channel, pretty much sideways, then a sell-off, and then a bounce, push up, and then back down. So there weren't too many setups. I mean, there were a few more setups than usual that I saw, and I took a total of actually 2 trades, and both trades worked out to be profitable. I'm going to go into the setups right now. So on the pre-market, there's just this big move up. This kind of choppy, shallow channel move down. Now, you could have probably tightened it up, but I wasn't even trading this, so it doesn't really matter. But I can see a higher low here because this is a break of this yellow up channel. Say first entry long, pullback, second entry long, potential higher low here, but it's in the pre-market. Prices continue moving down, and right on the open, or right before the open, there's this low, first entry short, pullback. Technically, you have a second entry short, but this isn't a very clean setup. But then you get a lower high here. I called it an almost setup because clearly you think the bias is moving down, but there's no EMA touch rejection. It feels a little risky. There is enough room for a quick 1-point scalp, but it just feels tight, and it's actually the first 6 seconds of the market open. So this printed really quickly, and this one here is just 2 seconds after the market opens. So something like that, it's just too quick, hard to jump in, hard to trust, especially when the setup looks a little iffy because there might be a support here. Pushes down to the low. At this point, I do have this blue channel established off of these high lines, and then the low lines look like they work pretty well. There's a slight overshoot here, so I'm expecting an overshoot on this side. So it pushes up on this orange up channel, creates a first entry long pullback, second entry long. You also have a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. There isn't really a higher low here, but I thought this was a possible trade because it's a decent signal bar bouncing off the low of what I think is this trading range that's developing. So I see something like this. Also, the break of this orange up channel tested once. I'm expecting another attempt up. So I thought it was a possible trade. Would have worked out. And it looks like it's moving sideways in this trading range. But there's no clean setups. I mean, technically, you have a new high here. First entry long pullback. If you counted this as a second entry long, it's a terrible signal bar. Then you don't know this big, massive green bar is going to show up. It also looks like a visual first entry, pullback, second entry. Again, this isn't a very good attractive setup because this bar, although it moved 1 tick below, it's kind of creating a lot of congestion because these are just side by side now. Pushes up. Looks like it's a break of this orange up channel, test the high, makes another attempt, creates a localized high, first entry long pullback, second entry long failure. I was looking at this in real time. I was thinking, was there a trade here? So I thought it was an almost trade because I was thinking this blue down channel wants to test the low. It looks like it's a 1 leg up sideways, a second leg up. Within the second leg is also 2 smaller legs up, 2 legs down. The problem with this 2 legs down and these 2 legs up is this kind of created a measured move that was slightly exceeded, but this creates a solid 2 legs down, which is also measured move, and it looks like it's slightly exceeded. So I couldn't really decipher the bias of whether prices are going to come back down and truly test the low of this blue range, or is it just going to chop sideways? So for something like this, I wanted a lower high. EMA isn't super helpful right here because right now you just see prices, it's just cutting through the middle of the bars, both above and below. So it's not super reliable as another key indicator. So I was looking for a lower high after this. I mean, you could say this is technically a lower high, but it's not a very good setup or confirmation of this failed second entry long. Pushes up. Looks like it's moving up this orange up channel. So this red one doesn't exist yet. I'm watching it break, test the high, but then it keeps going. And when it moves up this much, I don't think this channel is in play anymore because this already has tested the high. So I extended and created this new red up channel. It's pretty well, the low side. No setups though. Localized high. You technically have a first entry long. You technically have a second entry long by the counts here, but I don't like this doji, and this could be argued as being one big leg down. So more like a visual first entry pullback. This actually sets up for my first trade because technically by the technical count, you have a first entry long pullback, second entry long, and then this would be like a third entry. But I saw this as a visual first entry. This is getting ready for second entry. Break of this orange down channel is tested the low. Break of this red up channel wants to test the high. EMA is starting to act as support because the previous history of all the price action has been the candles have been above the EMA. It came down, it tried to break through once, it failed, but then it tried to break through a second time. It technically broke through, but it closed back above. So I'm thinking there's enough momentum to push it up at least 1 point, but I was going for 6 ticks, which would be still getting out before this candle. So I got in here, got in 6 ticks, which is hard to see, but there's a little purple arrow here, which is still clearly enough before any potential previous resistance here. No runners, just kind of taking the whole thing off, which is up. Break of this red has technically tested the highs, moving up this green up channel. You have a first entry long. I'm just not a big fan of this though because it's an inside bar to this, but it is technically a first entry long, which is down. You technically have a second entry long here, but this is kind of not a clean setup. Pushes, then I think I'm in this orange down channel. It's kind of slightly moved. Well, I think I adjusted it later. Pushes down, breaks the high, pushes up. I established this. No, actually I didn't have this, I don't have this yellow up channel established yet because you really have one touch, two touch, and really don't have much going on here. You do have a new high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. I thought this is also a possible trade because the break of the green up channel, it's one attempt. This could be the start of a second attempt. EMA is bullish now because you can see it's clearly starting to curl up. It's a decent signal bar. I thought that was enough for a 1 point scalp. And you do have kind of like a micro triple test. Made one attempt down. May try to make a second one, try to make a third one, but I just wasn't quite ready to try to take this trade, which is up. It starts looking, it's like a spike in a channel. So I saw a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry and a third entry, but these two, even though it broke higher, I saw this more like a visual, because you see it's just two red bars. It's a visual first entry long pullback, second entry long, second entry long. I did have this trend line established. So this red one still doesn't exist yet. Let's go make it clear. This red one does exist. Looks like a decent signal bar. I was thinking I might be in a range, but even in this range, there's enough room for a quick 1 point scalp. So I thought it's a possible trade. Pushes up. I also like that this signal bar did tick below the previous by 1 tick, then reversed strongly. So it looks like a decent setup. Pushes up, bounces. This is about when I established this yellow up channel, because I was playing with lines and I said this touches, this touches, this kind of touches here, this kind of touches here. So there might be a range, a channel starting to form. It starts moving sideways though. One leg down, pull back. I'm watching this blue range carefully. I'm looking for some kind of bounce here, but I was thinking there might be a measured move here. Actually, I didn't have this measured move drawn yet, but I was watching for this break here, and then another push back up to a break on this low side to match a symmetrical break here. But you don't quite get that. It just kind of pushes up, stays within this range pretty nicely. You have a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here. I just don't really like the signal bar. The way I had my range drawn, it didn't really touch here and reject. If it had a touch rejection, then this would have been a little bit more attractive. Pushes down to the low side, breaks down through this range. I'm not certain prices are going to move back into this range now because this excursion was quite excessive, and the EMA is starting to turn bearish. So this is low, then it reverses back up. So this proved me wrong, even though this breakout here, the size of this breakout is pretty much bigger than the range itself. Typically, if something like this, it's hard to see or it's hard to know that it's going to reverse back up so strongly, but it does. Kind of chops around. It also moved back into this yellow channel, but this yellow channel I'm not the biggest fan of because really only have two touch confirmations on the high side and the low side. You don't really quite get a confirmation touch and it already broke out. So it's localized high. It's a first entry long. Technically, there's a hidden second entry long here, but I really wanted this candle to tick above by one tick this candle. So it's be a clean first entry, pull back, second entry, but it didn't quite do that. So never really marked it, just watched it. Prices continue moving, starts flushing down. It's just getting a little noisy. It gets a localized low. It's a first entry short. This big candle, this is hard to, well, big relatively speaking for today. It's hard to really trust. And then you do have a second entry short here, but it doesn't look very clean. It's just kind of a neutral body bar, which is, this would have been a great lower high if it was red, but turns out being green and it's closed above the EMA. EMA though, you don't have to, well, I don't give it as much weight in a situation like this because as you can see, this dotted line has prices moving both above and below. So the EMA itself, I'm not as concerned in situations like this as for it acting as a resistance or support. Prices move down, kind of hits the sideways consolidation, break, test the low. I thought we were in this range here, but there's no setup because actually this makes a new low here. Because if this is slightly higher, this didn't tick below, it would have been a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. But then the other problem with this is it kind of made a double top, and technically this red candle is inside to this. Then it creates a new low. I was thinking you're moving down this yellow down channel because it actually fits pretty nicely with one touch, two touch, three touch. There's a small break here and it creates another small break here. It's a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short, engulfing. This is a decent setup. Also, there's a breakout here, create a symmetrical breakout here. Break of this red up channel is testing the high, so there's thinking there's going to be a resumption back down to here. It would have worked. I was looking for a lower high though to try to jump in it, but it never shows up. This is the low side, creates a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but it looks more like a visual first entry, pullback, second entry, technically a third entry. So now it's just getting a little bit jarbled. This yellow down channel, I'm not so sure it's in play now. Creates a localized high, first entry long, but I'm not looking to go long on clearly a bearish day, or not a bearish day, excuse me, a bearish area. It's this bottom, starts reversing back up. It's just a first entry short. I added this as a trend line, one touch, almost a second touch, almost a third touch, and then I didn't really trust this as a channel just yet, so I never colored it in until much later. But I was just some guidelines to see if there's going to be some kind of reaction on the high side of this downward channel. Prices move down. It's far from the EMA. EMA is starting to become a little bit more reliable because it's showing a clear bias now. Let's say first entry short, pull back. This gives you, well, this gives me my second trade. So I'll go ahead and just localize low. It's a first entry short, pull back. Second entry short's confirmed right here. So this wasn't the best signal bar. But what was also going for it, it looks like it's one leg up, pull back, second leg. So it looks like it's two clean legs up from the bottom. EMA is clearly bearish. It didn't quite touch this blue down channel, which I thought was starting to become in play, but that's okay because the measure moved up. It looked like it was two clean legs. This is a bad signal bar, but the engulfing trigger bar is nice. Close below the EMA. I like this trade, so I entered. One tick at the low of this original signal bar. So it's a little hard to see. There's a little purple triangle right here. And just again, going for 6 ticks, 1.5 points, no runner. Quickly got the profit and just kind of watched it continue down. So if you're even going for 2 points, you're still in the clear before this potential support area and this potential support area. So you could actually had a decent runner. So if I actually ran this, excuse me, if I actually had a runner for this, I think I would have, if I kept it one tick above here, watched this move down. I would like to think the way I would have managed it was I probably would have gotten stopped out here. In that case, just for my own personal, it looks like it would have been roughly, oh, I missed out on a potential 10-point runner. That's okay. Prices continue moving down. It's a localized low. First entry short. Let's go ahead and Squeeze this back. Looks like I didn't draw it because it wasn't really quite necessary. Looks like it's moving down. You have first entry long pullback, second entry long. In real time, I'm not confident that this is the bottom. I'd be picking a bottom that's thinking the second entry long is good enough for a long. If anything, I'm looking for a failed second entry long or a lower high around here, but with enough room to scalp out before this potential support area. You do kind of get that, but it's not the right colored, it's not the correct signal bar. I wanted a red one. Bounces. Now it looks like it's holding on this support, but the problem is also this big push down is stalling. It looks like there's this wall of potential buyers preventing it from going down further. So I'm reluctant to go short, and I'm also reluctant necessarily to go high because clearly this is still a bearish bias. So I'm just sitting here and waiting. Pushes up, and now it hits the 12:30 time, which means there's only 30 minutes left in the day. Considering I got 2 trades in, my motivation to try to even get another trade is really low. And it has to be, I mean, even if it was a very bulletproof setup, typical, as typical, when you get into the last 10 minutes of the day, it just gets wild. So why risk giving this profit from this trade and this trade back? So the long story, long way of saying, I pretty much just kind of put my mind into cruise control. So it pushes up. I have no motivation to try to take any trades here. Pushes up with an orange up channel break, test the high. Now this is the last 10 minutes, and it pushes, kind of moved since then. Ninja Trader seems to kind of do that. Like the channels always seem to drift, but so then it pushes down and pushes into the close. So overall, probably, well, not probably, it is definitely a better trading day for me today because I was able to identify 2 decent setups compared to other days when I was able to dodge the bullet and take a terrible trade, but still was able to survive it. But today, I feel like these 2 setups were, for the most part, decent. Uh, Ideally, the rest of the week kind of, I hope, follows this kind of pattern where it's a little, for me, easier to read, or I just improve enough that it gets a little easier to read. But yeah, today is a welcome day. Two wins kind of put me back into the green for the losses that I took last week. So hopefully that was helpful.